you ever have moments when stress or really difficult feelings take over or take control? It might be anxiety, anger, sadness, fear, guilt, loneliness. It might even be traumatic memories or images, powerful urges, any kind of emotional experience that's overwhelming. Let's call this an emotional storm. Sometimes emotions may come at you in a big way, hijack your body and your mind. In these moments, it's hard to stay calm. You might struggle even to think straight because your thinking brain's really not completely online in these moments. You can't act and say and do what you really want to do. Have you ever been through this kind of thing? I know I have. So, this getting overwhelmed that I'm talking about, an intensely stressful state, can happen with any human emotion or combination of emotions. We describe this kind of thing in different ways. Maybe losing your temper if it's anger you struggle with. Sometimes people will say, I melted down or I went crazy. It could be intense anxiety or panic. When we get overwhelmed, we might disconnect or dissociate from ourselves or just freeze up. I couldn't think, I went blank, something like that. We may feel numb or just kind of scattered. This is when your fight, flight, or freeze response may be online. Regardless of how it manifests for you, it's distressful to feel like you're not in charge of your own words and actions, to lose control, to feel like you're not calling the shots in your own life, even momentarily. When your emotions take over, your true self is not really in control. You may do or say things that you later really don't get, kind of like, why did I do that? Or where did that come from? Or that wasn't me. An emotional storm can show up in many different ways. And when it hits, we don't always have full access to the higher level thinking areas of the brain. It's just part of how our nervous system works to help us survive physically in what our brain perceives as a threatening situation, whether or not it really is in that particular moment. If we can ground ourselves by noticing and naming what's going on in here, then we can activate the areas of the brain that we need to help us moderate our emotional systems so that inner experiences don't completely take over, so that our emotions are not the boss of us. The more aware we are of what's going on inside, the more we're in charge of our choices, our words, our actions. When we get overwhelmed, there are various ways to ground ourselves, to reconnect, to take back control, so we can go on living our life. Here, I'm going to show you one of those ways. This is a grounding exercise, and this tool comes from acceptance and commitment therapy, also known as ACT, which is a method originated by the brilliant and accomplished psychologist Stephen Hayes, based on his years of experience on human processes. And I learned this particular exercise from Russ Harris, who is a renowned ACT practitioner, author, and trainer. The exercise we're going to do is called dropping anchor. So to help us remember the idea, we can think of this boat analogy or metaphor. Imagine you're on a little boat out in the ocean, just you and the boat, and maybe you look up at the sky and you see darkening clouds. You might hear some thunder, maybe some lightnings up there. So there are some clues that there's a storm coming. And that's sort of what it's like for us to recognize I'm getting overwhelmed here and soon because I feel the signs in my body. Maybe tightness in the chest or the belly. Some clenching of the hands might occur, or clenching in the shoulders or neck. We may have some shallow breathing or shortness of breath. Our heart might speed up a little bit, that kind of stuff. You may have a strong desire to just get out, make an escape. Might be kind of hard in a little boat. If I'm out in a boat in the ocean with a storm coming my way, it's dangerous. I could be capsized. I might be swept away out to sea. I might lose control. Now, I don't think we can fully control our emotions, but we certainly can control how we respond to them. In this situation, to keep safe, relatively still, and steady, what we can do is drop an anchor. It'll hold you steady until the storm passes. I suggest you have some kind of notebook or journal somewhere nearby to use at the end of the exercise. And I'll prompt you when it's a good time to go to your notebook. Now, there are 3 steps to this exercise, and a way to remember the steps is with the acronym ACE, A-C-E. A is for acknowledging thoughts and emotions, C is for connecting to the body, and E is engaging with your environment, where you are and what you're doing. We'll go through each step together. Now sit comfortably and just relax your eyes and keep them softly focused on a fixed point somewhere in front of you. Start with A, acknowledge thoughts and emotions. This is turning inward. You're paying attention to what's going on in your inner world, in your mind. That's going to be your present thoughts and feelings. Now, thoughts are going to be like words, like an inner monologue. See if you can listen to the monologue and try to visualize the words that make up your thoughts. If a thought is, for example, I can't handle this, then you'd visualize those 4 words. See those words in your imagination and just let them be there. You don't have to do anything but acknowledge non-judgmentally, non-critically. It's just a thought. There it is, floating around in the mind space. Also in this step, you want to acknowledge your emotions if you can. You might have a feeling that comes along with one of these thoughts. Just notice sadness, loneliness, guilt, fear, anxiety, or just whatever it is. If you're in a neutral space right now, that's okay. So if you notice numbness, then acknowledge that. Label it. Numbness is present, like that. So this process requires you to do a little bit of differentiating between thoughts and emotions, so you can name them as thoughts or emotions. Now, I get that this is not a normal, natural thing that most of us do on a daily basis, like, hey, I'm going to go discern between my thoughts and emotions now and label them. No, this is something that we have to kind of teach ourselves to do and then practice. What thoughts are present right now? What feelings are here right now? Okay, I'll be quiet for just a moment while you get a little practice with this noticing and naming thing. Try it. Now, don't expect perfection for yourself the first time. Don't do that to yourself. Some folks find thoughts easier, and for others, feelings will be easier. With practice in time, you'll be able to do both, no problem. So, not being critical or judgy of any of these experiences, please remember that. Just observe, witness, and accept really whatever's there. You're turning inward just to check in, to see, to know. This knowledge, this awareness that you gain is really powerful stuff because it gives you the gift of choice, the opportunity to choose your own actions, your responses, instead of just emotionally reacting like knee-jerk kind of stuff. Let's move now to the second step, which is C, connect to your body. We're all different in our body types and our abilities, the body-related experiences that we've had in our lives. So as I'm suggesting movements and ways to activate and connect, remind yourself that I'm just speaking very generally here. You can adjust my suggestions to your own abilities and your own comfort level. You may just want to sit still and quiet and notice your breath. Of course, that's okay. So as you do this second step, you're kind of activating your connection to your own body. Tune in. What's going on right now in my body? Sometimes I'll catch myself just kind of living in my head, just sort of, from the neck up, like my body is just some appendage here. Our body allows us to be here on this planet living our human life. So remind yourself of how precious it is. Start with your feet. Wiggle your toes. Maybe press your feet down into the floor one at a time, left foot, right foot. Then try to press down both feet into the floor together. And then slowly move up your legs. What do your lower legs feel like? Your calves, your thighs, up against the chair that it's touching, or the couch, wherever you're sitting. So I'm in my feet, I'm connected to my leg. I use these feet and legs to get around my house, my neighborhood, my job, to move around the planet. And then just continue noticing and moving up through your torso. Breathe. What does the breath feel like coming in and going out? What does your belly feel like rising and falling? We're activating through the spine and the torso now. So roll your shoulders back, then forwards. Maybe shake your arms out a little bit. Press your hands together in front of you like praying hands. Press, release. What do your palms and your fingers feel like touching each other? Wiggle your fingers, shake your hands out. Head side to side, back and forth. Face, raise and lower your eyebrows. Am I doing it? Really notice all of these here and now sensations. Just feel your way into your body if you can. Now, if it's really uncomfortable for you to focus on your body, you probably have your reasons for that. Just be very gentle and slow, compassionate with yourself. That's important. Now, on to the third step, which is E, engage with the environment. Engage with your surroundings, where you are and what you're doing. You're going to tune in to your surroundings with all your senses. Start by looking around your environment. Wherever you are, pick out an object or two or three in your space and use your sense of vision first, your sight, to see the object's shape, size, color, and then shift around through your senses a little bit. What do you hear right now, besides me talking, of course? Is there a heater or an AC fan blowing where you are? Do you hear any noises inside the room, if you're in a room? Or do you hear anything from outside the room? How about traffic noises? Any nature sounds in your present environment? Are there any noticeable aromas where you are? Is there a taste in your mouth right now? Check it out. Now, expand your perspective a little bit. We're in a room, probably in a building. We're on a street. Maybe we're in a town or a city, and you're on a continent, and we're grounded by gravity on our rotating planet Earth, Mother Earth, revolving around our energy source, our bright and beautiful sun. You're probably indoors right now, I'm guessing, but I encourage you to try this outside sometime, out in nature, and then just turn on all your senses. Wherever you are right now, let each of your senses really open up and take in your surroundings. And so, combined with the previous two steps, we know what's going on inside in our inner world, our thoughts and emotions, and in our personal body and outside the body in the environment in which we presently exist and act. Now pause to become aware of how you feel after having done this exercise. So this is where you go to your notebook or your journal. I'm prompting you now to go to your notepad. Check in with yourself. Has there been any change in your state? How do you feel overall after dropping anchor? Now be in that feeling. Be inside your now moment and just describe it to yourself in your notebook. Was it hard? Was it easy? Because writing things down really helps us to be aware of them. It solidifies, clarifies, it makes everything more real for us. And we can't change anything unless we cultivate real awareness and acceptance. Please remember that. Now, we did this here together in an extended way, but the more you do this exercise, it'll grow stronger and easier and much, much quicker for you to do. So I suggest you do this exercise a little bit every day, even in a neutral emotional state. That's fine. so it'll be available when you really need it in an emotional storm. You'll be able to do it in a quick moment. Just take a pause and say to yourself, I'm going to drop anchor now. If you've practiced, you'll be able to find your center, ground yourself into a place of security and safety. If we notice and name our experiences, we're in a better state to think and respond to them. We can be more in control and choose. What do I want to do next? What's my next move? Think about it. What do you really want to do?